It begins on a small platform, after the louder part of the world has gone quiet. You are standing under a roof of dark glass and iron, where the rain has slowed to a fine silver mist, and every drop that falls from the edge of the awning lands with a soft, patient sound. The station is not crowded, and it is not lonely either. It has the hush that comes after the last loud announcements have faded, when the benches have cooled, the lamps have warmed, and the night has settled itself around the rails. Ahead of you waits an old sleeper train, long and dark blue, with windows lit from within by small amber lamps. The paint is slightly worn near the handles. The brass around the doors has been polished by many careful hands. Steam or mist gathers near the wheels, not in a hurry, just breathing lightly around the metal, A conductor stands beside the nearest carriage. He does not call out. He only lifts a lantern a little, so the step is easy to see, and gives a small nod as if you were expected, as if every tired traveler who finds this platform at night has already been given a place. Your ticket is in your hand. It is thick paper, soft at the corners, with a tiny crescent punched near one edge. You do not need to study it or understand the route. Tonight, the train will do the remembering. You step closer under the steady lamps, with rain whispering behind you and the warm carriage waiting ahead. The first step into the carriage is a small change in temperature. Outside, the night air is cool enough to touch your cheeks. Inside, the train is warm, in the gentle way of old wood, clean wool, and lamps that have been glowing for hours. The floor answers faintly beneath your feet, not with a creak of age, but with a soft acknowledgement, as though the carriage knows has come in from the rain. The corridor is narrow and calm. On one side, the windows hold long dark reflections of the platform lamps. On the other, the compartment doors are numbered with small brass plates, though the numbers are softened by the low light and do not ask to be read. A strip of carpet runs underfoot, deep green and worn smooth in the center, where many travelers have walked quietly to their rooms. The conductor moves ahead. Ahead, just far enough to guide you, lanterns swinging in a slow arc by his side. It sends warm shapes over the polished wood, over the handles, over a framed landscape print, where hills and pine trees are almost sleeping beneath a painted moon. Your compartment is waiting, with the door open. There is a berth made up with clean sheets, a wool blanket folded at the foot, a little green-shaded lamp, and a narrow table fixed beneath the window. On the table is a porcelain cup, still empty, and beside it, a small folded card with no message for tonight. The conductor places your satchel gently on the rack, touches 2 fingers to the brim of his cap, and leaves you with the quiet room. The train has not moved yet, but already the day feels farther away. You let the room become familiar in the simplest way. Here is the berth, long enough to stretch out in. Here is the blanket, heavier than it looks, soft along the edge where your hand rests. Here is the small lamp, casting a circle of green-gold light that leaves the corners dim and kind. Here is the window, black with night on the anyone, black with night on the other side, and crossed by the slow silver lines of rain. Nothing in the room asks for sharp attention. The little latch on the door sits neatly in place. The curtain is tied with a cord the color of old cream. The folded card on the table has a crescent mark on it, matching the ticket, but the words beneath are too small to matter. Perhaps it is a welcome, perhaps it is only a reminder that tea can be brought later. Either way, it can wait. You sit on the berth and feel the train beneath you, still resting, but with a quiet readiness in its frame. Far down the corridor, a door closes with a soft click. Somewhere, water is poured into a cup. The sound travels gently, rounded by the wood and carpet, until it becomes part of the room instead of an interruption. You unlace your shoes, or simply imagine doing so, and place them beneath the berth. You fold your coat over the small hook. You pull the blanket partly across your knees. Outside the window, the platform lamps blur in the rain, one gold circle after another. Inside, the lamp glows low, and for a while before the train begins, there is only this: a small warm room, a soft blanket, and the quiet permission to let the night carry what the day no longer needs. The departure is so gentle that you feel it first. As a change in the lamp flame, the little circle of light on the table trembles once, then steadies. Beneath you, the carriage gives a soft, gathered sigh. The wheels turn with a careful pull, and the platform begins to move past the window. Not quickly, only slowly enough for each lamp to drift by like a small moon on a string. No whistle splits the air. No bell insists on being heard. The station lets the train leave as quietly as it arrived. The conductor is somewhere down the corridor now, checking doors, adjusting lamps, making sure each little room has settled. Outside, the covered benches slide away. A stack of luggage waits under a tarp, dry and still. The ticket window glows for a moment, then slips behind the edge of the carriage. The last platform lamp passes your window and becomes a blurred bead of amber in the rain. Then the rails open into darkness. The sound of the wheels finds its first steady pattern. A low turning, a soft joining of metal and distance. Not loud, not fast, just enough rhythm for your breathing to notice and settle beside it. The town behind you is ordinary and mostly asleep. A few upstairs windows show pale rectangles of light. A bicycle leans under an awning. A tree beside the station wall lifts its wet branches and lets the train pass. There is no need to know how far the journey will be, and no need to mark the time. The train knows the rails, and the rails know the night, and your little room holds steady around you. Lamp, blanket, rain, wheels. Lamp, blanket, rain, wheels. Lamp, blanket, rain, wheels. The first mile disappears without needing to be counted. After a little while, the corridor grows quieter, and the train becomes a small moving house. The conductor returns with a cup for you, warm enough to steam gently in the lamplight. It might be chamomile, it might be warm milk with a little honey. The exact taste can stay unnamed. What matters is the way both hands can hold it, the way the warmth gathers in your palms, and the way the cup fits neatly into the saucer as the train rocks. Rain continues to write itself across the window. Small drops appear, pause, join other drops, and slide down in crooked silver paths. Beyond them, the outside world is soft and unreadable. A fence, a field, a line of trees, a small road with one lamp at a crossing. Each thing appears for a breath, and then passes into the larger dark. You can look if you like, or close your eyes for a few wheel turns. The story will wait. There is nothing important hidden in the rain, and nothing to solve and nothing to solve before the next bend. The train keeps its easy rhythm. The berth holds you. The blanket becomes warmer where it rests across your legs. The cup cools by degrees. The lamp continues its low green glow. Now and then, the rails make a softer sound, as if the train has moved over a bridge or through a shallow cutting. The change is brief and pleasant. Then the old rhythm returns. Rain on glass, wheels under floor, a lamp beside your hand. The night outside wide and gentle, traveling with you. The fields give way to forest so gradually that you only notice when the window grows darker between the lamps. Pine trees stand close to the line, their trunks tall and straight, their wet needles catching a little moonlight. The train moves among them with the care of something familiar to the woods. It does not push through the night. It follows a path already made, a silver pair of curving between mossy banks, lows, stones, and sleeping ferns. Here, the rain thins. Drops still touch the glass, but farther apart now. And between them, you can see the forest breathing mist into the spaces between the trees. A signal light appears ahead, soft green, almost the color of the berth lamp. It hangs there for a while, growing brighter, then passes above the window and is gone. The train leans gently through a curve. Your cup trembles a little on its saucer and then rests. The blanket keeps its patient weight. The lamp makes the wood grain on the wall look warm enough to touch. There may be small stations in the forest, places where no one boards, because everyone who belongs there is already at home. You pass one now, a wooden shelter, a bench, a low roof, with rain ticking softly at the edge. A lantern glows beside a closed door. No one hurries out. No one needs to. The train only slows enough to greet the place, then continues. Trees, mist, rails, a green signal, a quiet shelter in the woods. You can let each image arrive and let it leave again. The forest is not asking you to understand it. It is only offering a darker softness around the train, and the train is offering its little room of light within that softness. The line has many small stations after midnight. They arrive slowly, each one with its own roofline, its own bench, its own way of holding the lamplight. At the first, a row of clay pots sits under the eaves, filled with dark leaves shining after rain. At the second, a round clock hangs above the platform, but the hands are softened by mist, and time has no sharp edge here. At the third, a little covered kiosk displays jars and folded cloths behind glass, all resting until morning. The train pauses at some of these places, and only glides past others. When it stops, the stop is almost silent. A door opens somewhere behind you, a careful footstep, a suitcase set down, a low word of thanks. Then the door closes and the wheels begin again. You fold. You do not have to watch every platform or remember which station came first. The stations are like sleepy thoughts, appearing with just enough shape to be pleasant, then dissolving into the rhythm of the ride. At one platform, a station keeper, in a dark coat, lifts a lantern to the engineer, and the engineer answers with a tiny blink of light from the front of the train. It is only a courtesy, the kind of quiet greeting night workers share when words would be too much. Your compartment remains warm. The rain has become a fine mist again. The window holds, Both worlds at once, your lamp reflected in the glass, and beyond it, another little station drifting by under a roof of wet shingles. The train gathers itself and moves on, one station, then another. Each one calm, each one passed in peace. Beyond the forest stations, the rails lift gently toward a river. You sense the bridge before you see it. The sound beneath the wheels becomes a little rounder, a little more hollow, as though the train has stepped onto a long wooden instrument. The rhythm changes, but softly. The carriage sways once very lightly, and the cup on the table gives one quiet note against its saucer. Outside, the trees open. Moonlight lies on a wide, slow river, broken here and there by reeds, stones, and the dim reflections of the train windows. Your own compartment appears on the glass for a moment, floating over the water. Lamp, blanket, table, cup, your hand resting beside the curtain. The bridge is long enough for the train to settle into it. The wheels repeat their gentler tone. The river moves below without hurry. It carries little threads of reflected light under the bridge and away into the mist. On the far bank, a line of willows leans over the water. Their branches are still. A small boathouse sits beneath them with one amber window, and a narrow path climbs from the bank toward trees you cannot quite see. Nothing moves quickly there. Nothing has to. The train reaches the middle of the bridge, and for a few breaths it seems that the whole night is made of soft, dark water and quiet metal, of moonlight and little rooms passing safely above the river. Then the far side approaches. Gravel, grass, wet stones, the first pines again. The bridge sound fades back into the familiar rail rhythm. You may let the river go. It has carried its calm under the train, and the train has carried you onward, and everything that passes may pass gently. Sometime after the river, the lanterns begin. At first, they could belong to another little forest station. One amber light between two trees, then another farther back, then 3 more, arranged, not along the platform line, but deeper in the mist, as if a street has been resting beyond the pines. You sit a little more comfortably against the pillow and look through the rain-soft glass. The lights do not flicker oddly. They burn steadily, warmly, each one making a small circle in the dark. Between them, the shapes of roofs appear and fade. One steep, one low, one with a chimney sending up a thin, pale thread of smoke. The conductor passes your door just then, quiet as before. He notices that you have seen the lights and gives a small smile, the kind that says, yes, this is part of the route. No more explanation is needed. The train neither speeds up nor slows sharply. It simply continues its careful curve, following the rails as they bend toward the glow. The forest opens in small degrees. More rooftops appear. A covered footbridge. A tower with a soft round window. A row of lamps reflected in wet stones. This is the town that belongs to the quiet hours. It does not announce itself or ask you to stay awake for it. It simply gathers its lights beneath the moon and lets the train come nearer. Your ticket with the little crescent rests on the table. The cup is nearly cool. The blanket is warm. Outside, the lanterns continue to multiply gently, as if the night itself is making room for a place where tired travelers can arrive without effort. The train arrives. at the night town so quietly that the town seems to rise around it, instead of waiting at the end of the track. First comes the platform edge, dark wood shining from the rain. Then the awning, low and graceful, with lanterns hung from curved iron hooks. Then the station windows, warm behind thin curtains. Beyond them, rooftops step upward through the mist, each roof carrying a little silver from the moon and a little gold from the lamps below. The wheels slow. The carriage gives one final soft rock and settles. Somewhere ahead, the engine releases a long, easy breath that becomes mist among the platform lamps. No one rushes. A porter moves a small cart along the boards, its wheels wrapped or softened so they make almost no sound. On the cart are folded blankets, umbrellas, and a basket of small paper wrapped rolls that smell faintly of butter and warm grain. The conductor opens your compartment door and says, in a voice low enough for the carriage, that this is the stop for the town after midnight. You can come down if you like. The train will rest here for a while. There is no hurry. Thatcher, you take your satchel, though it feels lighter than before, and step back into the corridor. Other doors open here and there. A few passengers move slowly toward the exit, wrapped in coats, carrying cups, speaking only in murmurs. When you step down to the platform, the boards feel steady beneath your feet. The rain has become a mist, so fine. It is almost part of the lamplight. The town waits beyond the station doors, glowing softly. And the train rests behind you, as if it, too, has reached a room prepared for sleep. Inside the station hall, the air is warmer and smells faintly of raincoats, polished wood, and bread cooling somewhere nearby. The hall is not large. It has a tiled floor, dark green benches, a round stove in one corner with a low red glow behind its little door, and tall windows that look back toward the train. Above the far wall hangs a timetable, but the lettering is softened by age and lamplight. You can leave it unread. The town keeps its own easy order. A station keeper sits at a desk beneath a lamp, writing slowly in a ledger. The pen moves without hurry. When you pass, the keeper looks up and nods, then slides a folded map across the desk. The map is simple, more like a drawing made for comfort than for direction. A curved street, a little bridge, a square, a bakery, a bookshop, a bathhouse, and an inn, marked by small shapes instead of words. You take the map because it is pleasant to hold, not because you are worried about losing your way. The station doors stand open ahead, and through them, you can see the first street of the night town. Wet cobblestones, reflecting lanterns in long amber lines. Near the door, an umbrella stand holds several black umbrellas with wooden handles. A little sign hangs from the stand. But it is enough to understand without reading. Take one if you would like. Return it when you can. The town seems to trust travelers with small things. Choose an umbrella, or simply walk beneath the station awning for a moment. Breathing in the cool mist from outside. Behind you, the train glows through the windows. Ahead, the street curves gently out of sight. There is time to walk, time to stop, and time for the night to unfold at the pace of resting feet. The first street bends away from the station in a long, easy curve. Cobblestones shine under your feet, each one holding a small piece of lantern light. The houses lean close enough to feel sheltering, but not crowded. Their upper windows are curtained in blue and cream. Flower boxes rest on the sills, dark leaves beaded with mist. Under the awnings, little chairs have been turned upside down on tables, not neglected, just resting until the next quiet hour needs them. You walk slowly, following the curve. The umbrella, if you took one, makes a soft hollow sound as mist gathers on its cloth. If you did not, the mist only touches your hair and sleeves, lightly, with no chill deep enough to trouble you. There are people here, but only a few, and all of them seem to understand the volume of the night. A baker crosses from one doorway to another with a covered basket. A woman waters herbs beneath a lamp, pouring from a small copper can. A station porter leans an umbrella against a wall and stretches his shoulders before heading home. No one asks where you have come from or where you are going next. Here, arrival is enough. At the corner, you pass a window filled with folded quilts in muted colors: moss green, moon blue, soft brown, warm white. Each quilt is stacked with care, and a little paper moon has been tucked into the ribbon around the top one. The street smells of rain, lamp oil, and bread. Far behind you, the train is still visible between two buildings, patient and glowing. Ahead, a bakery window shines brighter than the others, and the warm smell grows stronger, one slow step at a time. The bakery door opens with a small bell, but the bell is wrapped in cloth, so its sound is no more than a soft note. Inside, the room is warm enough to fog the lower edge of the windows. Soot shelves line the walls, holding round loaves, braided rolls, little buns brushed with milk, and jars of pale jam that catch the lamplight like honey-colored glass. The oven at the back glows low, not bright, just enough to color the tiles around it. The baker looks up from a tray and smiles, as if visitors from the train are common at this hour. Perhaps they are. Maybe every night. Anyone. A few travelers step down from the sleeper and find their way here by following the smell of warm bread through the mist. On a small table near the window, there are cups, a pot wrapped in a quilted cover, and a plate of rolls set out beneath a clean cloth. The baker gestures toward them without making a fuss. Take one if you like. Sit if you like. Warm your hands if you like. You sit by the window for a while. The chair is simple and sturdy. The roll is soft when you tear it open, and steam rises briefly from the center. Outside, lanterns tremble in the wet street. Inside, flour dust rests on the table like a pale, quiet snow. The baker moves around the room in slow, practiced motions, sliding one tray out, turning another, brushing crumbs into a small pan. Nothing clatters. Nothing is rushed. The bakery has its own rhythm, not unlike the train. Warm, repetitive, useful, and calm. You may finish the roll, or only hold it for a moment and let the smell be enough. When you leave, the baker wraps another small roll in paper and places it in your hand for later. A few doors down from the bakery, the bookshop keeps one lamp burning in each window. The door is painted a deep, muted green, and the handle is warm from the room inside. When you enter, the smell changes from bread and rain to paper, wood, and a trace of dried lavender. The shelves rise higher than you expected, but they do not feel towering. They lean around the room like old trees, holding their leaves quietly. There are books here, with cloth covers, smooth leather covers, plain grey covers, and covers faded by many hands. Some are large enough to rest open on a table, some are small enough to fit in a coat pocket. There is no need to read any title. The spines make a gentle pattern of color and shadow, and that is enough. Near the back, 2 low chairs sit beside a little stove. Between them is a round table with a bowl of blue cloth bookmarks, a carafe of water, and a lamp with a shade the color of moonlit milk. A book lies open on the table, but the page is turned downward, keeping its place without asking to be noticed. The bookseller is somewhere up a short ladder, arranging a shelf with slow hands. When you enter, the bookseller only nods and returns to the task, giving you the comfort of being welcomed and left in peace. You sit in one of the chairs. It accepts your weight with a soft sigh. Rain taps the window. The stove gives a small pulse of warmth. The whole shop seems to breathe at the pace of pages turning in sleep. For a few moments, you may imagine choosing a book made entirely of quiet places. A chapter of moss, a chapter of rain, a chapter of lamps in windows. Then you let the book remain closed and rest your hands in your lap. When you leave the bookshop, the street has become even quieter. The mist has softened the tops of the roofs, and the lanterns seem to float a little above their hooks. You follow the curve on the simple map, though by now the town feels easy to trust without it. The street leads to a covered bridge over a narrow canal, where rainwater gathers the reflections of every window and carries them slowly beneath the boards. The bridge smells of wet wood and ivy. Its roof keeps the mist from your face, and the floorboards are smooth from many nighttime crossings. Halfway across, there is a built-in bench, just wide enough for one person to sit and look down at the water. You pause there. Below, the canal moves so slowly, it is almost a dark ribbon held in place. A few fallen petals or pale leaves float along the edge. On the far side, steps lead up to another lane, narrower than the first, with lamps set lower near the ground. Somewhere to the left, behind the buildings, the train gives a small settling sigh, as if the engine is cooling and resting beneath its own blanket of mist. You can see part of it from the bridge. Two amber carriage windows between rooftops, and a little blue-black shape of roofline above them. It is pleasant to know the train is still there. It has brought you safely, and now it rests while you walk. A cat crosses the far end of the bridge, quiet and unconcerned, tail making a soft question mark in the air. It only glances your way. It has its own warm doorway to find. You stand again when you are ready. The bridge continues. The water continues. The town opens another gentle lane beyond. The lane beyond the bridge leads to a bathhouse with pale tiles and lamps shaped like small bowls of light. It is modest and quiet, the kind of place a town might keep for travelers who have spent too many hours carrying the day in their shoulders. The entry room has a wooden bench, a row of hooks, a shelf of folded towels, and a copper tap, where water runs in a thin, warm thread into a basin. There is nothing elaborate to imagine, only the simple comfort of washing your hands in warm water after walking through mist. The water makes a low sound against the basin. The towel is thick and dry. The air smells faintly of clean stone, lavender, and rain brought in on coats. An attendant in soft-soled shoes places another stack of towels on the shelf and gives a sleepy nod. There are other rooms beyond, quiet pools perhaps, or deep tubs under high windows, but you do not need to visit them all. Even the possibility of rest is enough. You sit for a moment on the bench. Warmth rises from the tiles into the soles of your feet. Steam moves through the lamplight in slow curls, then thins near the ceiling. Somewhere, water drips at a steady pace that matches the quieter part of the wheel rhythm, still remembered in your body. Drop, breath, drop, breath. On a small shelf near the door, someone has placed a bowl of smooth stones from the river. Each stone is dark and cool, with a pale line running through it like moonlight underwater. You choose one only to feel its weight. Then set it back among the others. The town keeps offering little places to put things down. Near the bathhouse is a garden under glass. You find it by following a row of low lamps along a stone wall until the wall becomes an arch, and the arch becomes a doorway into warm, damp air. Above you, glass panes hold the rain like 1,000 small grey beads. Moonlight spreads through them softly, and beneath that pale roof, the garden rests in deep green shadows. There are ferns with curled tips, small trees in square planters, moss growing between stones, and a narrow path that loops slowly around a quiet fountain. The fountain does not splash. Water only rises a little, folds over itself, and returns to the basin with a sound softer than whispering. Benches are placed where anyone might want to stop. Some face the fountain, some face the trees. One faces a high window where you can see the night town's rooftops beyond the glass, blurred by rain and mist and warm light. You walk the path once, slowly. The air is different here, gentle and plant-warm. It carries the smell of leaves, wet stone, and the faint sweetness of soil. Somewhere under a broad leaf, water gathers and drops into a hidden tray. A gardener moves at the far side of the room, tying a vine to a thin support. The movement is so quiet, it becomes part of the garden's stillness. No one speaks. The plants do not need words, and neither do you. At the far end, a bench waits beneath a small tree with silver green leaves. You sit there and look back along the path, noticing how every lamp has been placed low, near the ground, so the leaves are lit from below, and the glass above remains dark and calm. The garden is awake only in the gentlest sense. It keeps the rain outside and the green warmth inside. It lets you rest between one quiet street and the next. The garden path returns you to another lane, and the lane opens into a square. This is the center of the night town, though it stays as quiet as the streets around it. It simply makes a little more room for the sky. In the middle of the square stands an old tree with lanterns hanging from its branches. Not many, just enough to warm the wet stones beneath it and catch on the edges of the benches around the trunk. The leaves are dark and glossy. Now and then, a drop of rain falls from one leaf to another, then down to the stones. A clock tower rises on one side of the square, but its face is softened by mist and height. The clock gives no sharp command. It only keeps time for bakers, station keepers, gardeners, and trains that know how to rest. Around the square, market carts are closed for the night beneath striped covers. A barrel of flowers stands beside one cart, the petals folded inward, sleeping in their own way. A lamplighter checks one lantern near the tree, adjusts the wick, and then walks on without hurry. You sit on the bench beneath the tree. From here, you can see several streets at once. The bakery street, the bridge lane, a narrow way climbing toward the inn, and, between two rooftops, the faint glow of anyone, the faint of the train at the station. It is comforting to see how small the town is. Small enough for rest. Every place you have visited is still nearby. Every warm window belongs to the same gentle circle. You do not need to choose the next street quickly. The square holds the pause for you. Lanterns in branches, rain on stones, a resting train in the distance. When you are ready, you follow the lane that climbs toward the inn. The lane is narrow, but never cramped. The houses step back politely as the path rises, making space for small planters, rain barrels, and sleeping window boxes. The stones underfoot are uneven in a pleasant old way, and a railing runs along the wall for anyone who wants a steady hand beside them. Above, the sky has deepened to a blue so dark it is almost soft black. The moon is hidden behind mist now, but its light remains everywhere, caught on roof tiles, gathered on window edges, resting on the tops of chimneys. The lanterns along the lane are smaller than the ones in the square. Each one lights only a few steps ahead, which is enough. You climb slowly. The walk is not long. In this town, every path seems to arrive before it becomes tiring. Halfway up, there is a little alcove in the wall, with a bench, a clay pot of rosemary, and a view back over the square. You pause there and look down at the lantern tree, the wet stones, the soft roof of the station beyond. A window opens quietly above you. Someone sets a folded cloth on the sill to catch the mist, perhaps for morning ironing, perhaps just because the night air is sweet. Then the window closes again, and the lane returns to stillness. At the top, the inn waits with 3 warm windows and a covered doorway. A lantern hangs from a curved bracket beside the door. It shows no bright sign, only a simple painted moon and a line of hills. The door is not closed against you. It is only resting in its frame, ready to open with a soft push. The inn smells of cedar, clean linen, and the faint sweetness of the bakery roll, still wrapped in your pocket. A small fire burns low in the hearth, not bright enough to wake the room, only warm enough to color the stones around it. There is a desk with a brass bell that no one needs to ring, a rack of keys tied with soft blue ribbons, and a wide window looking down the hill toward the station. The innkeeper appears from a side room, carrying a folded towel. She speaks in the same low way as everyone here, as though the town itself is protecting the sleepiness of the hour. "Your room is ready," she says. "The train will remain until the town begins to pale. You may sleep as long as you like." She places a key in your hand. It is small and old-fashioned, cool at first, then warming quickly against your palm. The ribbon tied to it is blue, the color of the bookshop bookmarks and the deeper folds of the night sky. Before going upstairs, you step to the window. The train rests below in the mist, all its carriage windows dim now except a few. Maybe other travelers have gone to their berths. Maybe the engineer is sitting with a cup near the front, letting the engine cool. Maybe the conductor has hung his lantern on a hook and folded his gloves beside it. The thought is pleasant. The train is not waiting impatiently. It is resting too, Behind you, the innkeeper has set a pitcher of water and a glass on a small tray. On the tray is also a folded cloth, a candle in a holder, and a little dish for the key. Everything has a place. Everything can be put down. Your room is at the end of a short upstairs hall. The floorboards are covered by a runner woven in muted greens and blues. A lamp burns on a small table halfway down, its shade turned low. The doors along the hall are closed, the doors along the hall, and from behind them comes no sound except the deep quiet of other rooms, holding other sleepers. Your key turns smoothly. The door opens into a room made for rest. There is a bed with a quilt folded back, white sheets beneath, and a pillow that looks cool and soft in the lamplight. There is a chair by the window, a small table with a pitcher of water, a washstand, a hook for your coat, and a rug beside the bed, so your feet will not touch the floor cold. In the morning, the window looks over the town. From here, the lantern square is only a warm blur between roofs. The station is farther down, nearly hidden by mist, but you can still see the faint line of the train. Its shape is long and quiet, settled beside the platform like a thought that has finally stopped moving. You place the key in the little dish. You set the paper-wrapped roll beside it for morning, or for some later hour that does not need a name. You hang your coat. You loosen whatever has been tight. You sit on the edge of the bed and feel the mattress give gently beneath you. The room has no need to explain itself. A bed, a window, a low lamp, rain softened by distance, the town glowing below. You pull the quilt a little higher and let the room become the whole world for a while. The town. From the bed, you can see just enough of the town to know it continues without needing you to watch it. A few windows remain lit. The bakery window, lower down the hill, glows the color of warm grain. The bookshop lamps are softer now, 2 small moons behind glass. The garden under glass catches faint rain on its roof, and the lantern tree in the square shines through the mist like a cluster of low stars. Every place you visited is still there, keeping its quiet work. The bridge holds the canal. The bathhouse keeps warmth in its tiles. The station hall shelters its benches and stove. The train rests along the platform, its journey paused, its wheels cooling, its rooms dark and safe. You do not need to revisit any of it. You can let the town arrange itself, in memory however it likes. The bakery may come before the bridge now. The garden may sit beside the bookshop. The lantern square may fold itself into the station hall. Sleep does not require perfect maps. Rain moves over the roof in a fine, steady hush. Somewhere below, a door closes softly. Somewhere else, a lamp is turned down. The town is not disappearing. It is simply lowering its voice. Maybe this is why it belongs to night. Not because it hides from the day, but because night has room for small kindnesses to be noticed. A dry towel, a warm roll, a chair by a stove, a bridge with a bench, a key tied to a blue ribbon. You breathe in. You breathe out. The quilt is warm. The pillow is cool. The town breathes below, and the train breathes with it. And the rain keeps time for both. Much later, or perhaps only in the soft edge of a dream, the town begins to pale. It does not end or break apart. The lamps simply grow less necessary as the mist takes on a faint pearl color above the roofs. One by one, windows become squares of gentle gray instead of gold. The lantern tree still holds its lights, but they are quiet now. Like stars seen after the sky has already begun to brighten. In your room, nothing has to change quickly. Nothing has to change quickly. The curtains move a little where the window is open at the top. The pitcher of water catches the first pale line of morning. The blue ribbon on the key lies still in its dish. The paper-wrapped roll waits patiently beside it. Down at the station, the train remains along the platform. Maybe it will leave when the first true morning birds begin. Maybe it will stay until the town has folded all its lamps away. Maybe, by then, you will be too deeply asleep to know, and that will be perfectly all right. The town knows how to take care of its own quiet changes. Bakers will cover their trays. The bookseller will close a book and mark the page. The station keeper will turn a lamp lower. The gardener will wipe rain from a glass pane. The innkeeper will step softly along the hall and leave sleepers undisturbed. Nothing is taken from you. Nothing has to be remembered before rest. The night town only belongs to the hours when it is needed. And tonight, it has done its work gently. It brought you from rain to warmth, from platform to birth, from forest to lanterns, from forest to lanterns, from streets to a room where the bed is soft and the world can wait outside the window. And now the story can become very small. Only the room, only the quilt, only the slow rain touching the roof, and the window and the stones far below. You do not need to follow the train when it leaves, or know which rail it takes beyond the forest, or which bridge it crosses after the river, or which ordinary station it returns to when the world is awake again. The train has its own gentle work, and it will do that work without asking anything more from you. You can stay here, in the quiet room above the lantern square, while the town settles into its pale morning mist. The bed holds you. The pillow cools beneath your cheek. The blanket has become the right weight. Your hands rest easily. Your breathing finds the old rhythm of the wheels, even though the wheels are still now. Lamp, blanket, rain, wheels. Lamp, blanket, rain. Wheels, a platform in the mist, a berth with a green shaded lamp, a forest of wet pines, a river under moonlight, lanterns beyond the trees, a bakery window, a bookshop chair, a garden under glass, a bridge over dark water, a key with a blue ribbon. All of it can drift together now, not as a map, Sayad, not as a memory to hold tightly, but as soft shapes moving behind closed eyes. The town will be there whenever the night is quiet enough to find it. 1. The train will know the way, and you can let the rest of the journey continue somewhere beyond attention, while the room grows softer and the rain grows softer, and the story lowers its lamp.